Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs and producers from around the world. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, with none other than DJ Hey, coming in all the way from San Diego. Hey, DJ Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. The weather finally broke up here. It seems like summer is coming in. Everyone is getting excited to start playing events and getting out there. And, it just really happy to be talking with you today. And thank you for coming on the show.
No problem. It's my absolute pleasure. And I'm glad to. Oh, sorry. I didn't think my phone was going to go off.
Hey, technical things happen all the time. We just learned after years of doing our show, we just roll with it.
Absolutely. You betcha.
You'll probably hear a ding of a text message coming in because I don't turn off my notifications on my computer, but people will be texting on my phone and then ding, it comes in.
I actually just turned the volume down on my phone. I turned my screen reader speech off. Usually I would have it on Do Not Disturb, but anyway.
It happens. So diving right in to let our DJ Sessions fans know about you, what made you decide to start DJing?
Well, music has been a big part of my life ever since I was a kid. And years ago, it actually began when the first DJ that I really looked up to was Casey Kasem, who I'm sure many of you listening out there probably grew up with. He was mainly known for hosting American Top 40. I specifically just wanted to be in radio when I met him. But then it wasn't until years later I met Dutch DJ and producer Ferry Corsten at the Intervention Pool Party that I realized, oh, wow, I want to be exactly like him, where I want to DJ at the big name trance events, clubs, and venues. So just to name a few, Electric Daisy Carnival, Dream State, the Amsterdam Dance Event, and of course, clubs like Ministry of Sound in the UK, or a nightclub in Seattle, and everything else. Like I said, there's so many of them, but yeah, just to name a few. Barry and I have been in touch ever since, and Casey even took the time to keep in touch with me as well. So, which I think is pretty amazing because not a lot of people get to have their favorite celebrity do that for them. So I'm very blessed that Ferry has been taking the time to stay in touch and support me, and that he's even interacted with me on social media a few times.
Mm-hmm. Two very big names, prominent names. I grew up listening to Casey Kasem. That was one of the things you did. One of my favorite movies in the world, Ghostbusters. He does his little cameo and talking about Ghostbusters in that movie. And this goes back to 83. I'm not sure when Casey started, but yes, he was the kind of, you could say, the voice of America, voice of FM radio with those top 40 hits. And moving the weight clock forward, when I started getting into electronic music, Ferry has been kind of what you could say a household name.
Exactly. And that's definitely my goal, is to eventually be one of those in the future. And this coming June is already going to officially be 8 years since I've been in the industry, which I can't believe how fast time flies. But specifically Ferry was the one who inspired me to be a trance DJ and got me into this music. And by attending his show, it gave me an understanding of the difference between being on the radio versus performing physically, where I love that interaction you get when you physically perform, where people just come up to you after your set like, oh, I enjoyed you tonight. You were amazing. You were dope. Versus on the radio, all you had was people calling in and emailing you, which is fine. But yeah, like I said, that physical interaction, that's when I was like, oh, wow, this is what I want to do, is I want to be just like Ferry and others like him.
Did I hear you correctly that you said you were doing this for 8 years?
Yes, well, 7.5 years, but I started back in June of 2014.
Okay. And was that going right into to DJing, or was it, have you looked at doing any music production as well, or where are you at with everything? I know you're doing live streams, but yeah, where is that going?
Pretty much, yeah. That's when I started DJing, and that was when I actually had the great opportunity to meet DJ Taylor Michael. Big shout out to him, who became my DJ trainer, and he taught me how to use my equipment, as well as giving me great tips along the way that would help me with pursuing my career. And yeah, if it wasn't for him, I would have no clue how to use a DJ controller. I would have no clue when to transition and how to transition. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. Same thing with my trance family. If it wasn't for them being here, yeah, like I said, I'm just glad where I am now. So
And what gear are you using? And has it been the same gear that you started with, or is it have you upgraded over the years?
The first controller I used was the Pioneer DDJ Ergo, and that was a great controller starting out. But yes, it was time for me to eventually upgrade, which I did a year ago, and I'm now using the Pioneer DDJ SX3, which I have hooked up to my laptop, and I use a DJ program called DJ Pro by Algorithm, and my screen reader will verbally tell me information about the tracks, like the artist, the title, the BPM. And so by getting that information and using muscle memory of my gear, along with the knowledge of the music, is what allows me to transition and mix seamlessly live.
Yes, that's a very amazing use of the technology. Have you ever reached out to Pioneer directly and said, this is some suggestions I might have for you as a company? Or have you ever had any feedback from the companies that are making this gear to kind of maybe work close hand in hand with them?
You know, I did actually reach out to them once about their DJM rec app. And even though I don't have an M mixer, because I just thought to see what it was like, I did reach out to them and told them about the accessibility issues that need to be fixed to make it accessible with screen reading software like VoiceOver from Apple, which is what I use. And unfortunately, they just kind of sat on it like, oh, okay, thank you for the feedback. We'll look into it, but nothing has changed about it. So this is why I always say to people that now, not all of them are like this, but sometimes I've been getting the vibe from some app developers who either don't have a full understanding of how people like me use technology, or that they're like, well, because of the population with people with disabilities is a certain number, why should we care about including them? And that's not okay. Because I believe everybody deserves to be included in the same opportunities, and that includes people with disabilities. So that's why inclusion matters. That's why I firmly believe in that, you know?
Absolutely. Now, you've also taken the technology. Did you start out doing live streams at first, or is this something that you've gotten into through the progression of your career?
No, I actually, I do record my mixes and still post them online. But yes, I recently started getting into live streaming about almost a year ago. And ever since then, my fan base has been starting to grow. I now live stream the show on Twitch twice a week, which my show is called Trance By Touch, and I'll get more into that as far as why that name came around. But yeah, I do the show twice a week. And yeah, ever since then, everybody who tunes in has always said really great things in the comments, like, oh yeah, this track is dope, or oh, I'm loving the vibe and this and that. So it's been great for me.
Well, I was listening to it, right? One of your latest one, I think you did on the 15th of May here. And I love your show intro. That is so awesome. How do you...
that? I'm sorry?
Oh, I was going to say, I love your show intro, and it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. You know who actually did that for me was this gentleman by the name of JD Gonzalez, and he does excellent DJ drops and voiceover work. So big shout out to him. I wanted to say, if anybody out there is looking for somebody to do a DJ drop for their podcast or whatever, I highly recommend JD Gonzalez. He's awesome. And that's my live intro that I use for when either I'm performing live in the clubs or doing a live stream. And then I have a regular intro that he did for just when I'm posting my mix as a regular show online, which if you've listened to my mixes in the past, like starting from 2022, you'll hear what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's almost like taking them on a journey and taking them on a train. That's why I came up with that idea for the Trance by Touch Express as like my live platform / journey when I'm taking the crowd on this big adventure with the music.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you so much for the shout out in the show that you gave to myself and the DJ sessions. Super excited to have you here on the show this afternoon. And gonna have got more questions for you coming your way. The biggest one is when it comes to doing a show is how do you decide on your track selection?
I usually make playlists because it gives me more confidence as far as what's coming up, and it also gives me time to rehearse it. I'm personally not a freestyle DJ, and I know some DJs are, and nothing against those who are, because I firmly believe in do whatever works for you. But yeah, I like to prepare my sets in advance because I want to be able to rehearse them, and that way it saves me from having to, oh shit, what was I going to play? And then I have to try to find the song, and then I might transition too late. So yeah, that's why making playlists and preparing my sets works best for me.
Mm-hmm. And not too long ago, you got a chance to meet with Sarah Dewar.
Yes, I did.
And what was that experience like?
Oh my goodness, that was incredible. Like the moment I heard that she was performing at Trance-Energy, which is our trance event here in San Diego, I instantly recognized her name because I've heard Ferry play some of her stuff back in the days of Corsten's Countdown, and I was like, whoa, she has an amazing voice. So when I heard she was there, I said to my friend who works at the venue, hey, would it be possible for me to have a quick few minutes to say hi? And he goes, yeah, sure. And so he just brought me over to her, and I just told her, I go, hey, this is who I am, and I recognize you because I've heard your stuff and I love your music. And yeah, she was so friendly and such a sweetheart. And she even goes, oh my gosh, I would love to see you get booked for a event at Ministry of Sound someday. And that really blew me away when she told me that, because I knew that they're known for booking dance DJs, especially trance. And I have a lot of trance family over in the UK. Just to shout a few of them out, shout out to Matthew and Sue Dalton. Shout out to James Gibson, as well as James E. Yeah, James Edwards. Yeah. Like I said, I have so many of them, but yeah, I just wanted to name a few.
And who else besides, you mentioned Ferry, you mentioned Casey, and obviously Sarah, who else have you met, and or who is one of your top 3 biggest inspirations?
Well, I would say I had the chance to meet DJ Seraphin at the Artie Pad Festival when I performed there a few years ago. And get this, he even posted about me on Instagram, and he just said, hey, I had the chance to meet this DJ who's blind. And my DJ trainer, DJ Taylor Michael, actually knows him, because when I told him the story, he's like, oh my gosh, I know who he is. And he pretty much like kind of reminisced about like how he started following him and such. So yeah, I definitely would say DJ Seraphin. I also had the pleasure of meeting Anthony Reyers from the trance duo Chihiro and Pitch, which Anthony is also blind as well. And it was great to meet him because we started talking through social media a few years back, and then he hit me up one day and he goes, hey, I'm going to actually be in your town. And I go, oh, cool. I'm actually doing a show that week. And he's like, I would love to go to support you. And he did. And I also had the chance to meet Dustin Hussein. And that for me was great because me and Dustin actually both ended up being inspired by Ferry. And the moment he mentioned Ferry inspired me, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And so we kind of started chatting about how we have something in common, which is being inspired by the same person. So shout out to Dustin. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And I hope that you come back to San Diego soon, because it would be great.
And speaking of San Diego, you played at a bar. It's called the AC. Is it the AC Lounge? It is the AC Lounge.
Yeah, well, it's actually known as the air-conditioned lounge, but everybody always abbreviates it and says the AC Lounge. So,
do you know where that name came from? Is it a new place, or is it a new venue, or has it been around for years? And
Oh, they've been around for quite a while. I'm not exactly sure when they opened up. I believe it might have been when I was starting out. I mean, like I said, I could be wrong, but it has an air conditioning unit in there. So I don't know if maybe it was because of that or, yeah, I'm not exactly sure why they came up with that name. I might have to ask some of my friends who work there. So to Matt and Nico, Tony, if you guys are listening to this, if you could maybe answer that for them on social media, if you happen to follow Darren and all the other folks from the DJ sessions, let them know. Because, yeah, I'm sure that everybody else would love to know as well.
Awesome. Well, it turns out that you are also kind of a drink aficionado. And one of the drinks that I saw you post about recently, and there's a little funny fact to this, was the Scooby Snack cocktail.
Yes.
And, you mentioned a little bit that drink just sounded so amazing. But you know what? I found out on that post, I did not know that Casey Kasem did the voice of Shaggy.
Yes, he did.
And, and how, and again, going back to how he was such a huge inspiration to you to be a DJ, but not knowing that Shaggy fact was very interesting. But the Scooby Snack cocktail isn't the only drink that you seem to like. Yes. Tell me about the one that you made quite recently. If you remember this, it was during St. Paddy's Day. It was tall. Yes. It had whipped cream in it. What was that drink? Do you remember what that drink was?
Yes, I came up with my own name for that. That's called the Paddy Wagon.
Paddy Wagon.
And yes. Thought I'd give it a little cute name to be associated with St. Patrick's Day, or whenever anybody would maybe be in the mood for an Irish cocktail, even though it's not actually from Ireland. But yeah, that has whipped cream, chocolate syrup. I'll have to look it up, and maybe I'll like message you the ingredients because I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, basically. Oh, and I believe there's also Coke in there. But yeah, it's a very sweet cocktail.
It looked very sweet. But I mean, you have everything from martini glasses. Here it is right here. I found it on Instagram. Cream de cocoa or Kahlua, depending on which one you prefer.
Creme de cocoa. Yes.
Creme de cocoa, syrup, whipped cream, and Coke. Yeah. And of course, Sergi Andre Cool, one of my favorite DJs.
And I know had the chance to be a guest on our Passionate Trance and Friends in February. So big shout out to you, Sergi. Thank you so much for being a great friend and supporter. I love you. You're awesome. And it's just been great chatting with you. And also, I know I'm doing a lot of name dropping, but I just can't help but.
That's okay. That's awesome. Okay. I first met Sergi, in the wee back days of maybe 2010 when he first streamed live on our show, the DJ sessions. He was 19 years old. And so watching him grow and develop as a DJ over the years, he's just one of my top favorite DJs and love what he does every time he gets behind the deck. So shout out to Sergi, Andre Cool.
Oh, yeah. And also shout out to my good longtime friend, Margaret Sclamp. Yeah, she's such a doll. I love her so much because we've been keeping in touch through social media for years. But the one thing that really, really touched me was last year for my birthday, she sent me a huge package of Ferry Corsten merch. And it was incredible. Like, she put together this big package that had a couple of shirts. It also had his baseball hat with his logo and a lanyard and a keychain. And yeah, it was incredible the way that she just wanted to do that for me. And I got a little teary-eyed when my mom described for me like the shirts and everything, because it just really makes me happy to know that this is what the trans community is all about. It's about meeting people who are there to be there for each other as a family and who are thoughtful and considerate. So, and I hope I'll have the chance to meet Margaret someday in person. That would just be wonderful. And absolutely, and everyone else.
Absolutely. After, so many years of, before I started the DJ sessions, I was always a participant in the crowd and always wondering why nobody ever had a video camera in the club. And I was a video guy since I was a kid. and
wow.
nobody was,
Cool.
people weren't capturing these moments. You'd always hear people talking about those moments, and then set the way forward clock years later, where I'm talking and hanging out with some of these celebrities and these people, and how nice and genuine and honest and supportive that they are. It's a very humbling experience on many levels. It's just, I've met a few that have just been really cool. Too many to name drop.
Sure. Well, do you mind if I share just one of my experiences?
Please do.
All right. Well, it was when I first met Ferry at the Intervention pool party, and I had the chance to talk to him. But the biggest thing was that I even got to be backstage during his set, because we contacted his publicist and kind of explained the situation. Like, since I've never been to a big party like that obviously it might be a bit crazy. But then they were like, yeah, no problem. You guys can enjoy the show backstage. And the promoter was super awesome. Big shout out to Andy Hirsch. He was one of those people that you could tell was there for everyone as a family, myself included, because he brought me 2 Malibus and Cokes when he found out that was my number one favorite drink. And the following year, when he booked him for it, he and his public relations manager, they were like, you know what, you're family to us and you're welcome back whenever you want to come. And if you need us to get you a birthday cake, you got it. And Ferry even recognized me at one of his shows, and he just goes, hey, if ever you're going to be going to any of my shows, let me know and I'll see what I can do about making sure that you're close to the stage and stuff. So that to me shows that he legitimately is there for his fans, and that he's not just there for the fame and the money. Mm-hmm. And that's what he taught me to do with my own fans, is to be exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing, some of the connection that DJs, producers build with their fans, especially taking that time after a show to go and work the crowd, to go sign autographs, to do the pictures. And, they're just not the ones that are kind of in and out, or sometimes via schedules, they have to perform and then they have to get on a plane and leave to the next city. So sometimes they don't get time.
I totally understand that.
Sometimes they don't have the time to do that, but they do have that time and that extra little effort of just staying after a show for an hour and a half, and really means a lot to the fans. I mean, they think it's something it's huge, and that lets them build a real amazing connection. I've heard some really awesome stories of, when a fan, I said, I'll ask somebody, what's the one thing that you remember a fan that what's the one special thing a fan has ever made for you? And they'll go into the story of telling me about how such and such girl, such and such guy, person built something for them or made something for them and gave it to them that they still have and hold on to, and they can connect and still stay in contact with that person. So that's awesome that you have that connection with Ferry. And it sounds like there's, it's going to grow to a great friendship and move forward. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And the other thing I got to say is, when I went to Dream State a couple years ago for the first time, and I wasn't expecting this at all, since I would just mainly go in to hang out with people, is like there were literally 30,000 people, and tons of people knew who I was. Like, they were coming up to me and they were like, hey, are you that blind DJ that I follow on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, that plays trance music? I go, yeah, that's me. I'm DJ Hey.
That's awesome. And how do you deal with that kind of attention? It can get overwhelming for people sometimes, or do you feel you're just a natural?
Exactly. I feel like I'm natural, but also it's a good thing. Like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, these people know who I am, people who either traveled from, I don't know, the Netherlands, from wherever they're from, and to say, hey, are you this DJ that I follow that plays this music and has something unique about her that not a lot of people have? I was like, yeah, that's me. And that's the other thing too, is that when I asked Ferry for advice about what I can do to bring my show to a bigger audience, he goes, the fact that nobody knows you're blind, you need to mention that, because it's going to help make doing what you love stronger and grab the attention of future promoters and anybody who comes across you, because it's one thing for them to read about it online, but it's another when they actually hear it. And so by hearing that, they're going to be like, wow, this girl's blind. Whoa, she puts on this amazing mix like this. And so that's where the name Trance by Touch came about for my show, is I play trance music and I DJ by touch.
And sometimes things can happen. Technical issues can happen.
Yes.
How do you deal with them? You seem to handle it pretty well, but how do you deal with those when they pop up?
Well, sometimes it can be a bit frustrating because now I haven't dealt with them in the clubs before, which I know eventually will happen. But sometimes it can be because I have no clue whether if it's on my end or whoever, like, for example, if I'm booked to do a guest mix for somebody else's Twitch channel, to be like, wait, is it on your end? Because usually the sound would come through perfectly fine through my monitors. So like if say I said, oh, the sound is coming through perfectly fine, but then they say, oh, it's not working on my end, then sometimes I'll ask them, well, is it your internet connection, whatever, because like I said, I would have no idea whether if it's coming from theirs or mine. But I know to just stay calm and take a deep breath, since there's no point in getting worked up and steamed up about it.
After 12 years of doing a live show and 30 years in production, I think we were joking a little bit online that Sergi, we mentioned him earlier, knows that magic word that I sometimes use. Back in I don't use it too much anymore because we got everything down, but we were using some new gear for about a year or two. And he knew the special 4-letter word that I would scream out loud. And he kind of ended up getting desensitized to it because he knew in like 45 seconds I'd figured out what was wrong. And then it'd be like, okay, everything's back to normal. We're okay.
Yeah. And so then I remember when I asked you about it, that's when you told me we might get banned from Facebook. And I'm like, okay, I don't want that to happen. So that's why I was like, maybe I should just leave it at that or whatever.
And leading into that, DJing, obviously you're beat matching, you're making beats flow, you're making things going key, keeping the timing, all that. How much of a perfectionist are you? As there's some things that slip by a little bit with DJ Hey and like, oh, I wasn't right on that. Or put it this way, I always looked at things like if I'm listening to a mix and a DJ says, I didn't like that, I screwed up, I did it. If I come to him and say, I didn't hear anything at all, what are you talking about? Are you a perfectionist, or is there some things that get through sometimes and you just kind of roll with the punches on that?
Yeah, I would say I'm getting there. Like, it was all a matter of receiving the right training and knowing how to transition. And so I just learned that from Taylor, but also I learned that from listening to mixes like you said, but also specifically like when I hear Ferry transition on Resonation Radio, sometimes I think, ooh, I wonder how I could try to make that transition sound as smooth as that, That's why, too, I practice my sets before I record them and then work on finishing them up to post them online, but also same thing when I live stream on Twitch. And I can't stress that enough how important it is, because a lot of times the thing I've noticed is a lot of my DJ friends especially will just boom, all of a sudden do it without practicing. And I would tell them, look, it's like going back to when you would study for a test in school. And if you didn't study, then you'd fail, So that's why I'd advise them, practice your set, whether if you're recording it as a mix and posting it online, whether if you're live streaming it, or if you're going to go out and do it in front of people, because you want to make sure that whatever you're doing comes out as a solid product and sounds as good as possible. And I'm sure that if they made a tiny mistake, the crowd may not notice it, but still, you do want to be as good and professional as you can.
After 30 years of going out to nightclubs, being in the nightlife industry, running a DJ show for the last 12, 13 years, I have never learned how to DJ.
Oh, really?
I own tons of gear for the shows. I just had never done that. I mean, there's so much more that I do as an executive producer and video editing, and I stick to that side of the fence, and I let my friends stick to the DJ side of the fence, because my show is never supposed to be the Darren DJ show. and focus on me. I wanted to showcase everyone else out there that made me dance. And, that was my fun thing of going, did you see that person? Did you hear that mix? We recorded it and now we can share it with the world. And I'd be handling all the video stuff on the back end, making sure that's being taken care of and the distribution. So yeah, I've never learned how to DJ. I think I did put a CD into a CDJ once and a CD into another CDJ. And I kind of mixed between the two and that was it. There's kind of a joke with the DJ sessions, the whole faux pas. I have a persona that my DJ name is the DJ Sessions, but I'm not a real DJ. It's kind of a funny joke thing that we play. I'm not a DJ. I just play one on live streams.
Yeah.
So no, totally commendable for you, picking up the decks, doing this, making it happen. Would you recommend a career as a DJ to young kids?
I would definitely say if they're really into music and if they're passionate about it, I would say yes, because at the end of the day, and this is something everyone goes through, is that we all sometimes go through having jobs that we don't like because it's not our thing. But yeah, just do what you love and do what you're passionate about. And if that's wanting to pursue a career professionally as a DJ or even making your own music, then go for it.
Do you feel that DJing should be funded with government programs?
Like, well, what do you mean? Like
if there was a DJ school and they made financial aid available for DJs to go study, become musicians, become DJs. I mean, traditionally you had, before electronic music really took hold in the world, you had the traditional band, and that would mean somebody would usually have to learn how to play an instrument, get training to play that instrument, maybe take vocal training classes, and you could go to school for that.
Yes.
But as far as DJing goes, I mean, there's schools out there, but should it be something put into a curriculum at say a middle school or high school level, just like band or choir?
Well, I think especially since a lot of DJs, each DJ is different. So meaning some DJs are more about going down the path of following the love and passion for the music they love, which is me, whereas some others are open format where even if they're asked to play a genre they don't like, they go for it. And obviously in school, you're kind of assigned to learn a certain thing that you may not use later on in life. So I would definitely say the best way that I think would be to learn DJing is to just be self-paced and to kind of experiment with your equipment, but also it is important to have somebody there to show you how to use your equipment, because especially if, say, you may not have someone in your family that's familiar with it and they're like, oh, I have no idea how to help you, how to show you this. So that's why it's like, thank goodness that my DJ trainer came along and gave me this one-on-one training, because if it wasn't for him, as I mentioned earlier, I would have no idea how to use my controller or how to transition.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And over the years, I've had tons, well, let's say dozens of people offer to have me DJ. I said, the one thing is I just don't have 4 to 20 hours worth of time to look for music every week. Because I know that's part of the selection process as well, in doing all that. So, I commend anyone that has ever taken up the time to learn a musical instrument or be in the arts. But DJing, it always just seemed like it would overwhelm myself, because I wouldn't know. It's almost like, what track do I pick to play? And I know you maybe just go with your feeling, but there might be a little bit more involved with it than that. Obviously.
Exactly. And I will say that, the technical side, yes, it would be a great thing to follow, like as far as like having somebody there to show you everything. But after that, after learning your equipment, it's all down to you as far as like how creative you can be. And so that's why I think it would be better to just have everybody, when they want to learn how to DJ, to just choose whatever path they want to go down versus somebody kind of deciding for them, oh, I want you to be this DJ and play at these parties. But if it's like, well, what if say those parties then will want them to have a certain genre that they don't like. That's why, as I said, for me, I'm more about following the music I love and am passionate about, which I know Ferry's all about that. And that's one of the reasons why I was inspired by him. I was also inspired by, of course, Dustin Hussein after meeting him, and just everybody I've met in the trance community.
And have you ever experimented with any other genres of music other than trance?
Well, I haven't experimented as far as DJing, but I have been to some dance events that weren't related to trance, which gave me the opportunity to listen to those genres and kind of hear how they sounded. And that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, this isn't really for me. This isn't really my cup of coffee. So, but the thing that I've noticed that's one of the biggest misconceptions about trance is a lot of people think, oh, if it's not 140, it's not trance. But it's like, guys, come on. Trance is all about the melody and emotion, and there's many different subgenres of it. That's why now I play trance ranging from the slower vibe all the way up to the banging, uplifting stuff, depending on how can I say it? Depending on whether or not if I'm booked for a guest mix, because sometimes some people will ask me to play a specific genre of trance depending on what their show is. But if it's just me doing my thing, then I usually like to slowly build up my sets and then go from there.
Yeah, it definitely, I have people a lot that'll ask, what should I play when they come on the show to perform? And we've always had the policy that it's open tables. You get to play what you want to play. This is some big name DJs are like, oh, you want me to play like I play in the club? And I'm like, no, you can play whatever you want to play. And they look at me like, really? You what? Are you? You mean I could do a drum and bass set right now? I'm normally known as a house DJ. I'm like, yes, if that's what you want to play it. And they're like, wow, because they do get pigeonholed into a certain commercial or a way that people expect them to play. And I like to be able to say, come do what you want. Just have fun. That's the whole premise of the DJ sessions, and it always will be since day number one, is do what you want to do and have fun doing that. And we'll stream it live and we'll put it out there for you. So
exactly, yeah. And I have nothing against those who prefer other genres. Don't get me wrong, but the one thing that I've said to people in the past that I chat with online and also in person is the thing that I love about the trance community specifically is, as I mentioned before, everybody's there to be as a family, and they're there for the music, whereas opposed to other dance communities are kind of the opposite and are more about competing against each other and, oh, how much money can we make for people to come to these events?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, yes, DJing is my profession and it's what I wanted to do, but as I mentioned, I'm more about doing it for the love and passion, and that's my first priority and my first reason why I wanted to get into doing it professionally, because it's what I love to do and it's what makes me happy.
Well, it looks like the filming and streaming and episodic nature of doing DJs has rubbed off on you a little bit more to wanting to do another series I'd like to talk about called Funny Blind Moments.
Yes.
Can you tell us about episode 1?
Absolutely. So the first episode I did was when I talked about how I accidentally packed a beer in my lunch when I meant to pack a soda, because I was taking a can out of the fridge and it felt exactly like a can of Coke. So I thought, okay, it's a can of Coke. Cool, I'm going to have this soda with my lunch tomorrow, right? So then I go to take it out of my lunch pail and I open it up and I hear it fizzing, and I thought, okay, it's a soda. Sodas do that all the time. And then all of a sudden, when I put my nose to it, I smelled it and I immediately realized it was a beer, and I was like, I was thinking, oh crap, what do I do? So I just said to my classmate, you know what? Can you please just dump it in the trash? Because even though I knew that it wasn't my fault, I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna, get in trouble for this. But when the staff, realized what was going on, they were cool with it. And they were like, hey, it's fine. We know that it wasn't your fault. And for me, it's a way to bring awareness to the community that my blindness for me is a positive thing instead of a negative, because one of the things that so many people do is a lot of times they'll say, oh, you're blind. Oh, you must have a really sad, miserable life. Or, oh, I'm so sorry that you can't see. It must be so hard for you to live your life. And I thought, I'm going to do this series to help people understand that stuff like this, it's best to just turn it into a positive, turn negatives into positives. And it's okay to laugh at something that's associated with something that you have that not a lot of people do.
Absolutely. I love that, taking something that may have negative connotation and turning that into a positive. It's kind of a mantra that is founded what is everything behind the DJ sessions, is just making sure that it's always a positive mental mindset, a positive place, safe place for people to want to come and express themselves, to help them grow and encourage them, where maybe a lot of other people won't give them a chance, or want to play the popularity game, or that kind of thing. It's I don't like that that's in the industry. It is in the industry, but we try to stay away from that as much as we can over here. Now, do you handle your own video editing, and who do you have a team of people you work with that helps you out with all this stuff?
Not at the moment, but that is my goal down the road, is to eventually have a booking team / editing team that can help me with that. I do have some sighted assistants at the moment, because obviously editing videos, yeah, you could do it auditorily, but the thing that comes to it is the visual parts of it. And obviously I want to make sure that whoever's watching my videos will get whatever I want them to see. But yeah, it would be nice to have a booking team, because at the moment I'm pretty much everyone in one person, where I'm kind of doing all the work myself. That includes the DJing, like recording the mixes and doing the live streaming. And when I do the voiceovers for my mixes, for example, I record them in Logic Pro with the mix, and then I just kind of adjust the volume levels of each track. So I know the basics of working in Logic at the moment. I don't know the production side of it, but it would be nice to learn about that. But yeah, it's just that as far as producing my own music, that is also another thing down the road that I'm considering, because, I know a lot of times it does help to have your own stuff out, but since I'm so busy DJing twice a week at the moment, I just haven't found the time to all of a sudden, boom, start learning about producing. Because like I said, I'm everybody in one person. And so it would be hard to try to do both DJing and producing at the same time when you're just kind of everybody in one person.
Mm-hmm. And do you handle your own promotions, your own social medias and all that as well?
At the moment, yes, that's what I do right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally understand what it's like wearing the 14 to 29 different hats. Recently, I just managed to start bringing on new team members myself to help out in a multitude of ways. And we've actually grown more in the last year than we have all along by me trying to do it all myself. So definitely help help us helpful.
Exactly.
So I did notice that you do have some merchandise items available. Tell us about your merch store and what are some of the things we could find in there.
Of course. So yes, I launched my merch store about 2 years ago, because I know that obviously having merch is another great way to get your name out there, and especially for people to wear it. And if somebody sees them walking down the street, and if they're wearing, say, a shirt that says the name of my show in Braille on it, they may stop them and be like, oh, Trance by Touch. Oh, what's this all about? So I launched that. I also launched, of course, merch with my logo. And then I recently launched Live Life with Love and Music merch to honor a very close friend of mine who I sadly lost due to COVID last year. I launched that to honor him, but then I also decided to do a special donation where I donated half of my proceeds to St. Jude, which was his favorite charity, And yeah, so if anyone wants to buy any of my merch, you guys can find it on my website, which I know you'll include in the podcast section of like the description and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much the merch that I launched, and whatever merch you decide to buy, I hope that you enjoy it and will wear it out there.
Awesome. Well, DJ Hey, it's getting close to that time to wrap things up here a little bit. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know before we let you get going back to your studio and having some fun down there in San Diego?
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, for anyone out there who feels like they can't get to their dreams, whether if they want to be a DJ or producer, if they're struggling, don't let anybody bring you down. Just prove them wrong by showing them, yes, I can do it. And just have fun doing what you're doing. And if anybody tries to force you to change just because they're not happy with what you're doing, just be like, you know what? Sorry you don't like me, but if that's the case, then go find somebody else. But I always also believe that, hey, if you have haters, you're doing something right. But for the most part, I'm thankful that everyone I've met in this community have been so kind and down to earth. And I especially really appreciate how people like Ferry and Dustin, and also some of the artists I discovered through Ferry, that they've been friends with me on social media, like Dorky Kutse, Pierre Pinar, Alex Burka, Alex Wright, Memory Loss. Yeah, people like that. So yeah, just follow your dreams. And that's why I live by what Casey Kasem always said at the end of his show: keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Are you a mind reader? Because I was just going to mention that quote right before you said it. And
no, but I mean, it says that at the end of my press kit, so that's why I thought I'd throw that in there.
Awesome. And where can people find out more information about you and what's going on?
You guys can find my website at trancebytouchproductions.com. And from there, you'll be able to find my socials. You'll be able to find my merch store. And it also, of course, mentions about how to get in touch if you want to book me for an event at a club or venue. I play all melodic trance, ranging from the slower vibe to the banging stuff. So if, say, you need an opening DJ for an opening set, whether if it's the first opener or maybe me to be the second DJ, whatever, I definitely would be down for it.
Well, we'll definitely have to see about doing something up here, because we work closely with Aura Nightclub and In Motion Productions, and Sergi's a resident with them, and they're doing some big stuff up here. We'd love to see you come up to Seattle. And also, we're going to be doing some stuff down in the southwest corner of the nation here, based out of Phoenix, but coming over and spending a little bit more time down in that area and in San Diego, LA, Vegas, Phoenix area here in the next few months. So we'll have to meet up and hang out.
Absolutely. Yeah. If ever you're in town, just let me know. And yeah, it'd be great to grab a drink and just talk and have a good time, and talk about maybe future opportunities. Oh, and also I wanted to quickly mention, for those who may not know, I've actually had the chance to be a guest DJ for some shows outside of the US. Like a couple years ago, I had the chance to be a guest on Artento Divini's show Onstage Radio. And I also had the chance to be a guest DJ for Ori Uplift show, Uplifting Only, which was a big milestone because that airs on di.fm, which I know they're the biggest platform for airing all the big name shows. So yeah, if any DJs out there are listening, and if you're looking for a guest DJ for your show, please let me know, because I'd be more than happy to come do a set for it.
I think that networking is key to the industry, key to any industry, and you seem to be doing it very well. So congratulations, DJ Hey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. And it was great to chat with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebooks. We're all there at thedjsessions.com. You can find out all of our socials. That's DJ Hey coming in from San Diego for the virtual sessions. And remember, on the DJ sessions, the music never stops.